Let's get this going. Happy Sunday, everybody. Another Savage Sunday. How's everybody doing out there? Tis also St. Patrick's Day. Make sure you're wearing your green. This channel's always been green, so even if I didn't have that going, we are in the clear. But you guys know it is Sunday. We are gathered here today on the most savage of Sundays to celebrate and honor horror, darkness, and the unknown. Carpenter, hear our prayer. Today, let's start by saying hello to everyone out there. We got Miss Carter in the chat. We've got Heather. We've got the man Naz. How you guys doing out there? It's going to be an interesting discussion today. We are taking a look at franchise fatigue. Something that we're all a little familiar with a lot of our favorite franchises throughout the years. How do we get to that? And yes, that is definitely one thing we will discuss, how it can be self-inflicted, where if you look at last October, every single day I did something with Halloween. And yeah, that was as much as I love that series, I've probably only revisited I've probably watched like 3 Halloweens since October was over. One was for the launching of The Devil's Eyes, so the original, and then went out of my way to watch H2O. That was an adventure. And of course H6, I'll always watch that one. But franchise fatigue can happen in a lot of different ways. I don't think the term itself needs any introduction, but you can get that in the form of the movies being rapidly released over a short period of time, which is where I'm going to bring I think an interesting sort of comparison and pose a question with that. And I don't know, you could get it also from, as Miss Carter pointed out, literally just watching the same series of films over and over a very short period of time. Those are a couple ways you could do that. And can it be shaken off? Is there a way that you can have this fatigue going on, but then also find a way some years down the road maybe to sort of separate from that, to get that, how would you say, I guess just shake it off, really. Is there a way for the franchise fatigue to have been shed over years? It's a possibility. But let's start with a couple notable examples. Like if you're looking in terms of a series of films being just processed through the proverbial meat grinder over a very short period of time, you could easily look at the Saw franchise. I wasn't too big on those when they were coming out. However, am absolutely in love with those films now. And I don't know, when they were coming out every single year, I wasn't seeing them all as they were coming out, and I was tired of them by the time Saw 5 was coming out. Of course, I still would see a couple of them here and there, but now I look back at it, it's like, fuck, why don't they do that again? I think another great example would be on Friday the 13th. 8 films alone in the 80s. And by the time they got to Jason Takes Manhattan, Paramount was absolutely tired of it. Of course, slashers as a whole were sort of falling out of vogue by that point. And I would imagine maybe even by part 7, people were probably getting a little sick of it. But then you got something where there are going to be 7 entries here very soon. Scream. Now, those films, I think, are somehow able to avoid the franchise fatigue because of how they're doing their releasing. When you have that 11-year gap on either side of Scream 4, I think that it sort of helps to wean off the whole idea of franchise fatigue there. Let's see. I'm a basic white bitch and get pumpkin spice fatigue every year because I overdo it. So I can, yeah, I tried that pumpkin spice, and I don't know if it was because I got it wrong, because I got it out of a freaking cappuccino machine. It was just, it smells so much better than it tasted. But hey, uh, I almost said something that would have just sounded really bad, could have been taken out of context. So we're just gonna move on there. I think my fatigue comes from franchises themselves after movie hits part 3. Yeah, yeah. See, that's another interesting point there. It's like, even if franchise is taking its time to sort of unfold, what entry is it usually where that fatigue starts to set in, and as you put it, the lowering the expectations and whatnot. Uh, I definitely think once they hit like a part 5, it gets to be a bit ridiculous sometimes. But again, you do have the ones where if they are coming out really rapidly, and you have just so many films coming out, they're having to readjust their own franchise rules. Uh, they're picking up very ludicrous plot points. Again, you can look at Friday the 13th for that. The Kane Hodder onward era. Again, I love Kane as a dude, but his films were not the best in some ways, and I don't know. I feel like an asshole saying that, but that's just how I feel on it. But once you start getting telekinetic girls into your series, it gets ridiculous. You incorporate the silly voice changer. That could almost take people out and kill your franchise for 11 years. Uh, yeah, you could also rush films and not allow for a decent plot for a script to really birth itself. Looking at you, Halloween 5, you're an interesting case there. Oh, I'm starving for Nightmare on Elm Street content that I'm afraid anything we get will. That I am afraid anything. Yeah, that's another weird point there. Uh, that's almost a whole other conversation I think that we could have, but that's definitely a really good point to bring up right now. It's like, if you're starved for a great follow up, or you've been expecting a follow up for what, we're almost at 15 years that we haven't had a Nightmare on Elm Street. It really is one of those things where you almost are willing to lower your expectations just for the sake that something comes out pretty good. I mean, that was as much as I enjoyed Rob Zombie's Halloweens, I actually sort of had that when 18 was first announced. I had this weird skepticism about it. It's like, fuck, I really hope this is good, because it was obviously the 40th anniversary and stuff. And it just seemed like a very weird time, and it's like I was willing to lower my expectations just for the sake of hoping that an original timeline Halloween would have been a good one. Uh, Halloween fatigue bad, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not. I really enjoyed both of those, so I'm not really fatigued from them in that regard. Again, it was just constantly having to go back and forth throughout the whole series that really got me there. But yeah, no, it could happen with any series, honestly. Like, I feel for anybody who would sit through all the Howling movies. Like, if you watched every Howling, how many of those are there? You go through all those and you're at a point where it's like, oh fuck, this is getting goddamn ridiculous. Uh, make one in a sequel. Yeah, there's a few that you can definitely respect for doing that. And I did make a point last show where I sort of tipped the hat to the one and done films, particularly with the slashers, where it's like you just do a one and done and you're like almost fucking perfect. Even if you're a shitty film, you don't have a reputation to really tarnish outside of, the one film's shortcomings. Halloween gets wonky after part 2. Yeah, I can't even lie on that. I'm not gonna even try and pretend like it doesn't get a little out there. I'm a fan of trilogies in general. Good setup, mental conflict, and resolution. Yeah, it's interesting that I don't know, because it's kind of weird with Scream. I feel where there was this whole feeling of, yeah, we have the Scream trilogy, but then it seemed for a while that not a lot of people really liked Scream 3 at all. But the more they add to it, and here's where things get really interesting. They start adding a 4th film, 5th film, 6th film, working on the 7th one now. And it's sort of given 3 a reevaluation there and really makes the original Scream trilogy, I think, stand up in a, I don't know, slightly stronger sort of stance there. And yeah, The Quiet Place, I haven't really gotten around to those. I did watch the opening of the first one, though, I think it was. That kind of ruined my day. But yeah, franchise fatigue, though, man, it's something else, ain't it? Like you get so many films of wavering content or wavering quality. Like you start with a pretty strong first one, pretty decent sequel. Part 3 might be a little silly, but you get to part 4, which could be the best. Could just be a shit show. But it's usually after that 4th entry is where I find a lot of them start to get a little. It's like they're dragging the dead horse around. You know, you're dragging a corpse, you're sleepwalking at that point. But I think years after the fact, though, like years after a franchise has run its course, we're able to, I think, look back at that and sort of disconnect ourselves from the sense of fatigue, especially if we're looking at the contemporary fatigue. If you're getting fatigued by these films as they're coming out, yeah, there's something about being able to look back at it and knowing that, yeah, these came out rapidly. If I watch these over the course of maybe 2 weeks, you won't feel that same sense. And I don't know, just something about the power of the films, I think, at the end of the day, too, allows for us to find a way to dissociate from the fatiguing there. What's Miss Carter said there? I can't get beyond the first Scream. I just can't justify the killer's reasons for killing. Yeah, it gets a little. There's a couple where it's ridiculous, but they find a way to always have it interesting for me there. Hey, we got Snyder in the chat. How we doing? The man himself. Movie Misfits, Chris Snyder. Ayo. But yeah, the voice changer, that was a little bit goofy, but with that one I do try to look at the not the cons. I try to look at the pros there, where you have Roman as being the guy, the one, the only, the single-bladed assassin in Scream 3. Whether you want to buy into the whole Angelina's the second killer bit or not, I think it's definitely I don't know, something about Scream 3, man. I'm just really coming around to that one. It's like I don't feel like it's even the worst one anymore. But I feel like that would just relegate fucking 4 now. I don't know. I need to do a Scream ranking at some point. Need to do something to ring in that Scream 7. Other Halloween is my favorite of the big 3, but yeah, it was a very what's the meme? The dodgeball one. For if we had continued on with the Devil's Eyes, like nothing had happened, like I hadn't just come out of 31 straight days of Halloween. Bold strategy, Cotton. I haven't seen Dodgeball, so I feel like it would be in poor taste for me to have that meme on hand. But yeah, it can happen with any franchise too. And again, it could be whether you're marathoning them. It could be whether you're seeing them released in real time. And I just can imagine how the executives feel. It gets really bad too when you start recasting roles. I'm not throwing any shade at all at Nightmare on Elm Street with that. No, sir. Or Friday the 13th. No, sir. Fuck Halloween even. All three all three of the big three are guilty of fucking recasting at the height of their franchise powers there. And it's interesting if you look at the pattern there. I think wasn't wasn't A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 like the highest grossing of the bunch there at the time it came out? But anyway, they started recasting around that middle point for all of them, so it was very interesting to think about that, because I think recasting can really hurt your franchise potential there. And it's kind of funny how Scream is one that we're definitely having to mention here, because they're finding a way to avoid that fatiguing. And again, I think it might come with the way they're releasing the films, the way they did the trilogy. They probably would have done a 4 if 3 had performed a little bit better. But there's that 11-year gap. They do 4. 4 didn't do as well as they thought it would. So we get another 11-year gap. And I don't know, something about the way that it was performing there allows for us as fans and viewers to stay hungry for it, allows for it to not really get stale or anything like that, and keeps us kind of hungry. This is just totally ignoring and putting on the back burner of your mind all the behind the scenes drama shit. Like we don't need to talk about none of that. It's just the films as films, because that's really what we're all going to remember at the end of the day, until we do the 20 years later retrospective type deal. But anyway, it's funny though how they were pointing out in Scream 6 though how they're acknowledging we're in a franchise now. I seriously am waiting for that to be the sort of the little point that they're bringing up is franchise fatigue. Like, I felt like 6 should have done that. They didn't really touch on that like I would have wanted. But I'm hoping maybe with Scream 7 they could definitely poke the bear that is the concept of franchise fatigue, and acknowledge that, yeah, it gets really ludicrous by the time you get to a 7th film. But I don't know. In a lot of ways, I do kind of want to see them take a very straight-laced sort of approach. I wouldn't complain about that at all. But franchise fatigue, again, just to sort of wrap up on that, pacing the release of your franchise, I think, is it's important, because if you're just releasing the films way too frequently, you will get the frustration in the audience. They will sort of lose interest over time. Again, I use Saw as an example where I wasn't even watching all of them as they came out, and I was tired of them. But that is something that time heals. Like, cause you look back at it after that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rapid punch, and you can sort of appreciate it, I think, in a slightly different light. Trying to not go too over the top with plot points and stuff is another good way to lose the fatigue. Because I feel like they introduce these wacky plots sometimes to combat the fatigue feeling, but they end up putting themselves in an even weirder spot than they would have been if they'd just kept going with the basic approach. And that is true. That's something I couldn't appreciate as they were coming out, because again, part of not watching them is they were releasing It's one of those kick in the ass moments there. DK, I don't know what they plan on doing in Scream 7 in terms of current tropes. Already covered them. And yeah, again, that's sort of where I think that they should just kind of comment on the absurdity of franchise and fatiguing. But again, I think time is the biggest healer of franchise fatigue, I think. Again, unless you decide to sit through in a day and a half and go through a whole franchise that is beyond the 5, 6 film mark, it's definitely it could definitely be a rough patch and a strain on the brain. Uh, I think Cypress Hill once said insane in the membrane, so it would definitely put you in that spot. But yeah, pacing yourselves. That's really what it comes down to. Pace yourself as creators. You want to keep your audience, but you don't want to burn them out. And it's a fine line balancing act there, because something else might come along and take away all your steam. So it is like they say, you want to strike while the iron's hot. Well, sometimes if the iron's too hot, you might end up I don't know, bending it, warping it, shocking it. I'm not an ironsmith or a blacksmith, so I don't know. It sounded a lot better in my head before I actually said it. But you don't want to shock your product. You want to shock your audience, not your product. I think that's the point there. Uh, I think that was really all I had for today on that. I really need to try and take notes before I do these lives sometimes. Before we go, you guys know that the short film Dog Screams is in production. We're going to talk more about that tomorrow, but I have a couple scenes already shot, and it's just raw footage right now. But here we have just a little screen grab from that. And it's an interesting scene near the end there. And I just thought, I gotta show something for that, just for the hell of it. Uh, oh, this is good for everyone, and everyone who's doing this. Creator tip for shows like this, I just got a list of bullet point topics I want to touch on. Chris Snyder from Movie Misfits, that is some damn good advice right there. Yeah, because you could almost get too organized and shoot yourself in the foot. Just enough is sometimes the best way to go. Oh shit, that is a very good point. Like, I just saw the first words and I think that's it right there. Instant gratification culture. Short attention spans and hurry up, put the product out. I'm going to see if I got a clip for that. Like, I don't have super chats or nothing, but it's like one good turn deserves another, I think is the old saying. Instant gratification culture. What works on that? Do I have a clip that's relevant?
Check, please.
I don't know. Maybe that was the one.
Are you okay, man? It was just a goof.
I don't really have celebration clips, so those I felt were check please sounds pretty good, because instant gratification. Get it now. Get it now. Yeah, and no, what's weird about it though is we're not really part of that, but we're a part of it, even if we want to be or not. It's like a weird, we are, but we're not. And it sort of, I don't know. It's like part of us, we just have to conform to it. We have to just sort of fucking deal with it. And man, I don't know. It's an interesting one, because it's like On one note, we kind of want for things to uh we kind of want our stuff like out right away as soon as possible, but we also want for stuff to take their time, and it's freaking weird, man. Like, cause I don't know about you guys, but I personally find myself like sitting on the middle of that line sometimes, where it's like, you know, fucking, I want this now. I want to know as much as I can right away, but there's also that slow burn of the pleasure of getting the information slowly fed to you. You know, it's a weird balancing act. But yeah, yeah, no, yeah, I don't have a TikTok either, guys. Uh, I definitely got respect for that. But yeah, like Chris here, get stuck on them reels or those YouTube shorts, man. Fuck you, dude. I don't want to even think about how much time I've lost just fucking going through the YouTube shorts. Like, I'm trying to watch a damn video or something, and I see a short that catches my attention. Click. And the next thing I know, I'm just there for like a fucking hour and a half. It's a dangerous cycle there. Hey, Naz Pap. Got both 2 3-letter names right there. Kind of threw me off there. How you doing, Pap? Let's see. Some over there. Okay, that's definitely a message for Chris. Chris, if you're still there, Pap's got a message for you, dude. Naz says this also goes with movies, the attention span thing. A lot of people nowadays just want the action. That's it. It's like you do want a good deal of action, but you definitely need the story to be coherent, because a bunch of action scenes spliced together, it's not always like the best way to do things. It just feels George Costanza once said, how did the line go? Without a story, it's just masturbation. You know, that's George Costanza has his genius moments sometimes. Nick, what you doing, dude? What's up, everyone? Channel kind of runs on franchise movies, but yeah, it's franchises are definitely on an interesting scale there of love, hate, frustration, and pleasure, and all those little things there. But yeah, tomorrow we'll be back though to talk a little bit more about the upcoming dog screams. Definitely excited for that one, guys. Should we play the teaser? We might as well play the teaser. We're gonna show that weird still one more time. I wonder what the hell is starting to go on here. Well, I mean, I don't wonder. I know exactly what's going on there. We're gonna play that teaser for you guys and let you get on with watching the Leprechaun or drinking the green beers, whatever you guys do to celebrate on this day. You know, I I wish I had a big fucking Eustace mask. I would bust it out just for that. But yes, very vibes, bro. Channel is vibes here. Yeah, I try to keep it vibing. Like, I'm just so damn relaxed, I think. Thanks, Pap. Hey, Lady J, how you doing? But yeah, it's definitely a passion project coming on. I might alter the name of the production company though, because I'm finding that DCLXVI just does not roll off the tongue. So that's something else I've been playing with too, is different names for the production house. Again, that has a separate channel there. I don't know if the link's here, but if you go to the channel icon there, you'll see it in the associated links there. But that is shooting underway now. We're going to talk more about the shooting schedule tomorrow. And of course, there are other projects on the horizon. Want to say hi to you guys. Almost a little near the end of the show. But there's nothing wrong with that. Late is absolutely better than never there. Let's just go back and catch some of these. Okay, that was Chris letting Pap know. Hey, thank you, Nick. Thank you. Appreciate that, man. Barely hit the... Yes. Do as Pap says. He is the master. He knows what he means when he says hit that like button. I think Snyder says it doesn't cost a thing. Just do it. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's part of it, and it's like, if I have to look at it to make sure that I'm putting the letters in the right order when I'm saying it, that's a bad sign. It's KY 2.0, 8 deep. Terrible. I just got done watching Last Action Hero, which is an underrated non-franchise film. Very fun. I might have that one on VHS somewhere, and that's the one where it's like plays on like, it's like Scream for action movies, ain't it? Basically, if that's the one I'm thinking, with Arnold in it. Oh yes. Oh. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you all again. I could just sit here and read y'all's comments all day, and I don't know. I find that I totally shoot myself in the foot when I read comments, because I'll forget what I was talking about and mumble. It's terrible. It's terrible, but it's great. Again, thank you guys. You're all very awesome. Again, happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy Sunday. Maybe go watch a Carpenter film. I don't think he has anything that's really in the St. Patty's Day vibe. I would say watch Elvis by John Carpenter. That's y'all's excitement for the day. Or Escape from New York, even. If you don't want to watch Elvis, watch Escape from New York. It's Kurt Russell's birthday, I think, so you should watch one of those. So, yeah. Definitely watch a Kurt Russell-led one. Almost forgot about that. Anyway, once again, you guys have a great day. I will try to have a great day. I got that 9 to 5 today. As always, though, you guys know the drill. It's time for Chop Top to run us out. But before I bring him on, make sure to play with the icons down there. You guys know what to do. It's all your choice at the end of the day.
Dog wheel hunt! Get that bitch, Leatherface! Get that bitch! Dog wheel hunt!